The CASA program is part of the family division of the 8th Judicial District Court that recruits, screens, trains and supports volunteers to represent the best interests of foster children right here in Clark County.
Yes, here to tell us more about the program is CASA volunteer Erica Pope. Erica, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, now Erica, you've been a volunteer for the last 23 years. Oh my goodness. Talk to us about what has kept you committed to this program.
Well, I started as a CASA volunteer way back in 2000. I can't even believe it. And I was just really compelled by the what I understood the needs were, which is a caring adult to be there and advocate for children in their best interest. And these are children who are among the most vulnerable members of our society. And that just really meant a lot to me. And it has proven to be one of the most rewarding, difficult things that I've done in my whole life.
Clearly it's something that means a lot to you, otherwise you wouldn't have done it for this extended period of time. I'm sure there are people out there, and there's a need for more people like you with this kind of giving heart and time to do this. What would you say are the key points for someone looking to fulfill another position like yours that they need to have or be expected to do or anticipate having to do to fulfill this role?
Well, I need to check myself. I said it's one of the most difficult things that I've done, but it's rewarding in that you are really exposed to individuals, people who work in the foster care system who have really, really tough jobs, and these are not easy challenges. So one of the things that I would just let people know is that your work is really needed, your volunteerism is really needed, because there aren't enough people in the system to be able to see to all of these children's needs, and they really could use another caring adult to just be their advocate and to spend time with them and to just show them that somebody really does care for them. I think patience, I think realizing that you're going to encounter challenges where there are not easy answers, and persistence, and just a real commitment to not giving up in the face of some of this adversity and some of the frustrations that you run into just with a big system with a lot of kids who need support.
Now, Erica, some of these cases might take a little bit longer in terms of the extended period over time. Talk to us about your involvement with the children in these cases and how you sort of manage through even some of those ones that might take a little bit longer.
That's true. There aren't easy resolutions for some of these cases, and I have happened to have been assigned to several that have taken a number of years to resolve. I've had everything from an infant who was adopted within his first year of life, which was a wonderful, happy outcome, to 2 children who aged out of the system. I began working with them when they were young teenagers, and that often happens with teens. They don't end up with a permanent, either adoptive resource that comes into play, because teenagers are can be a little bit more challenging, and I think there's some stigma around getting an older child versus a younger child. The most, again, for me, the most rewarding thing has been having the opportunity to just spend time with these kids and to let them know that I care, doing fun things with them. As a CASA, you're encouraged to go out about at least see your child at least once a month, hopefully more frequently than that, and just get to know them and get their mind off of what could be a difficult situation that they're in the midst of.
I think, at the center of all this are the kids, obviously.
Absolutely.
And those are the ones that benefit from the adult connection, from someone with offering some stability in their life. Do you have any favorite stories or a particular case that resonates with you or has stuck with you for a long time, just to show people that these kids are good kids, that they just need some support? Yes,
they are good kids that have been dealt a difficult hand, more difficult than most anything you'll probably ever hear of. I have gotten calls in the middle of the night from one of the kids that I worked with that aged out of the system. He remembered my phone number, and he told me that I was the closest thing to a mother that he ever had, and that he really appreciated knowing that I would answer the phone whenever he called, even in the middle of the night in that case. I have gotten to hold a little infant and meet his adoptive parents and see how much they truly loved him and were truly invested, and know that he was set up, on a positive path for the rest of his future.
So some of these short-term memories or short-term connections become lifelong friendships and meaningful connections. That's incredible.
Yes.
Incredible.
Erica,
Family.
thank you so much for joining us this
Thank
morning.
you for having me.
For more information on how to become a CASA volunteer or learn ways you can support their mission, visit casalasvegas.org.